الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على النبي المصطفى. الحمد لله رب العالمين الذي بنعمته تتم الصالحات. أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters, last session we were talking about the Zionist movement, and we said and explained a lot about a key character of the Jewish people, and he was Herzl. Today we are going to actually talk about another person from the Muslim side, and he is actually one of the greatest people that we can talk about. But unfortunately, this man, as I said last session, was not appreciated enough in our history. He was not just appreciated enough, but he was really defamed by both the Jew and the Muslims, or specifically, let me say, the Arab people. And we are gonna talk about this soon in the coming sessions. When talking about this great person, he is Sultan Abdulhamid II, or Sultan Abdulhamid II. This man actually, he was the last great caliph of the Ottoman Empire. He was the last great person in the history of the Ottoman Caliphate. But unfortunately, as I said, his bio was defamed, and many people went to say a lot of lies and even accuse him of selling Palestine, or at least allowing Palestine to be taken by the Jews, which is completely not true. As Sultan Abdulhamid II, to start talking about this great person, I want to say, if he has done nothing, he has done already three great things. We can never forget about them. The first thing is, Sultan Abdulhamid II actually was behind the idea of Al-Jami'ah Al-Islamiyah, or the Islamic League. Brothers, this Islamic League that was proposed by Sultan Abdulhamid II actually was replaced by what we have right now, Jami'at al-Duwal al-Arabiya, the Arab League. And if we come to the history, we will know that the British are the people who planned and pushed to make this Arab League exist. This is clear for everyone. No one can deny that. The second thing for Sultan Abdulhamid II actually is the train line that started from Istanbul, connecting these areas and territories until Al-Hijaz, which was known as Hijaz train line. The third thing, which is related to our topic, he actually set a series of precautions to prevent Palestine to be taken as a Jewish state. And by the way, he ruled 30 years, and the Jewish people could not get to establish their state in Palestine until they could top him down from his throne, or from the Ottoman throne, and control the Ottoman Empire by the Young Turks. Just want to say it should be clear for every one of us. As Sultan Abdulhamid II, or Sultan Abdulhamid II, when Herzl tried to take the land of Palestine for the Jewish people, it was rejected by Sultan Abdulhamid II. Then Herzl tried to actually make that kind of temptation for Sultan Abdulhamid by what? By offering him a lot of money. So he said to him, the Jewish people around the world are gonna actually pay the debt of the Ottoman Empire. Pay the entire debts of the Ottoman Empire. And this was one of the weakest points of the Ottoman Empire at that time, because they were actually under great debt. So he refused. Sultan Abdulhamid even refused this very, very, very needed, direly needed offer at that time. And when they couldn't find any way to get the land from Sultan Abdulhamid II, they went ahead to cooperate with the young Turks who were looking for dethroning Sultan Abdulhamid II. Saying this, and before I say two other things about Sultan Abdulhamid, I want to say one thing in the history of the Jewish people and Palestine, or the Jewish people and the Ottoman Empire. When the Jewish people was rejected in Europe and Spain, specifically after the Spanish Inquisition, this Spanish Inquisition was actually issued by the Queen and the King of Spain in 1487, around this period of time. They decided that no one, no Jew, or even Muslim, by the way, is allowed to stay in Spain unless they were to convert to Christianity. And it is said that the Jewish people that were killed after the Spanish Inquisition, they were estimated from 3,000 people to 300,000 Jewish people. Who saved them? Who tried to save them? It's the Ottoman Empire. Sultan Bayezid II, who was ruling the Ottoman Empire at that time, in the year 1492, he sent the Ottoman Navy to bring the Jewish people from Spain and settle in the Ottoman Empire territories. So we should know that. What I want to say again is, in relation to Sultan Abdulhamid II, because some people think Sultan Abdulhamid allowed the Jewish people to come to Palestine. Actually, it was 4 centuries or 3 centuries before that. And they were actually allowed to settle in the Ottoman territories, in the Muslim territories, as a matter of tolerance, to protect them. They came, they were protected, welcomed, and they were living with the Muslim people in peace and freely. All of these centuries under the Ottoman Empire governance. So, when we are talking about Sultan Abdulhamid II, actually, it was not only his time when the Jewish people came to Jerusalem. But anyway, Sultan Abdulhamid II, as we said, he made that great precaution, procedures, and a series of actions to prevent them. For example, Sultan Abdulhamid II, or the second, he was aware that those people began thinking of getting into Palestine to be a Jewish state. Before that, as a matter of tolerance, he allowed them to continue settled. But as soon as the intelligence regime of the Ottoman Empire gave him the news, he took actions. And actually, he assigned people to follow the Zionist movement, or the Zionist movement in Europe, to get him the news of those people. What are they doing? What are their steps, the next steps? So this is one of the first things he did. He was very aware of the Zionist movement. Why? To try to prevent them of settling in Palestine. Then in the year 1883, when it was clear, he decreed, or he issued that decree that prevented the Jewish people from owning lands in Jerusalem. Clear. However, they could sneak into Palestine actually. And they could establish or move to Tabariya, Jerusalem, Safad, and Al-Khalil, I think. But in the year 1887, the Sultan, or Sultan Abdulhamid II, he also were still aware. So after Jerusalem was under the governance of the ruler of Damascus, he canceled this and he made Jerusalem and directly under the ruler of the Ottoman palace, or the royal palace in Istanbul, to make sure that he is taking care of Palestine, of Jerusalem, that these wicked movements cannot even have an inch in Palestine. So he did a lot of things. And it is said historically, this man paid his throne, or the Ottoman throne, because of his rejection for the Jewish people to establish their state in Palestine or in Palestine. Finally, what I want to say, there is a very famous saying for Sultan Abdulhamid II. We should really know about it. He wrote it in his diaries. When Herzl came to him and insisted, and he pushed the European diplomats, the ambassadors and the consulates, to put pressure on Sultan Abdulhamid to give that land for the Jewish people, he had this great saying to him. He told them, give advice to Herzl that I cannot and I will not give him any of these territories. I will never even give him an inch or sell him an inch of the land of Palestine. It's not my own land. It's the land of my people. My people watered the field battles, lands with their blood to gain these pieces of land. This sacred land, Jerusalem, is not for sale. And if you really want to get to have it, it will only happen in one condition. If I am not here on that throne, and you will never get into Jerusalem unless you get into the top of our dead bodies. So that was a very famous saying to Sultan Abdulhamid, and I want to finish saying again and again and again, all of these 30 years he was resisting the establishment of the Jewish state in Palestine, and he never gave 1 inch to them. All the lands they got from their wicked ways of buying the lands of the Palestinian people. And we have to remember there was a lot of lands owned by the Muslims and the Christians, okay? So they used also fake names to buy the lands from the Palestinians. So this is the only way they could get to buy these territories of land in Palestine during the time of Sultan Abdulhamid al-Thani, or the second. And he, rahimahullah, because of that, mainly they really defamed his reputation in Europe. They cooperated with the Turks, the young Turks, to top him down, and to the surprise, the Sultan was actually imprisoned in one of the Jewish bankers' houses in the city that included the majority of the Jewish people who migrated to the Ottoman Empire. So most of those people were actually trying to settle in one of the cities. I don't remember the name very well. It's a little bit difficult to say it. So they settled there, and it's really not good to see in the history that Sultan Abdulhamid al-Thani or Sultan Abdulhamid II was imprisoned in this city in a house of a Jewish banker. اللهم انصر إخواننا في فلسطين يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصرهم نصرا عزيزا مؤزرا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم يا ربنا مكن لهم في أرضهم يا أكرم الأكرمين. اللهم اخذل عدوهم واخذل من عاون أعداءهم بحولك وقوتك يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصرهم نصرا عزيزا مؤزرا واحقن دماءهم يا رب العالمين، ورد إليهم أرضهم وبلادهم وديارهم يا أكرم الأكرمين. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلاة وسلاما على المرسلين، وجزاكم الله خيرا.